Hello everyone, I'm Annie Gibbins and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Hello everybody and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Kristina Campos, who is the founder of The Impactful Parent. She's a woman who has Masters of Education. She's been teaching in the education system in Colorado for a good 20 years. And then she realized that with 4 children of her own, primary school age, she wanted to start up a business that would really support parents in their homes. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about the business that she's created and how that really supports and enhances the role of parents and obviously the benefit they'll get with their children being happy, healthy children. So welcome to the program, Kristina.
Hello, welcome. Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to hear your story. So tell me about The Impactful Parent to start. What does your business look like?
Sure. So I am a parenting coach, and primarily most of what I do is absolutely free. So you just go online and you follow me either on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. And I put out parenting content videos every week, a few times a week, and hopefully I'm helping you with your school age child. So I don't do baby stuff. I do stuff that is for the older kid, ages 8 to 18, and specifically, a lot of stuff with teenagers and the tween years, because those are real critical. And well, frankly, parents need help around that time. So
They sure do. As a mum of 5, I tell you what, I could have done with your tips and tricks when my kids were that age. And so you've done teaching for 20 years, though, from kindy to end of school. So you've done the full gamut. A lot of people I find focus on those early years. They say it's all about what happens in the first 7 years. I've had people tell me that. And then we focus early on that development, and you hope you've done the right thing by the time they then get to their teenage years. And then it sort of gets a bit awkward of how do you support them? Is that why you've focused in on those years, or what's the thinking on the early years to the teenage?
Yeah, sure. Well, I founded The Impactful Parent because I really wanted to support the parent of the older child. I felt like when you are a new parent, you're really excited. You read all the books, you're excited about things, you join the mommy groups, and there's a ton of support there for you. And then something happens as your kid gets older. Sometimes we go back to work. Sometimes it's just life gets busier. Now you usually have multiple children to take care of and not just like one baby. And unfortunately, I really feel like the support system kind of falls to the wayside because, well, there's a whole bunch of different factors. We get busier, like I said, but also, when your kids are little, you go to a mommy group, or you participate in the school and you do play dates, and while you do play dates and things like that, you chat with other parents and you get those friendships and that support, and you ask questions to your friends and get advice and all that stuff. But when your kid's older, you drop off your child at the practice, the school practice, or you don't volunteer in the school as much. They don't want you there. It's just a lot more lonely for the older parent, and it's a natural progression, but I don't feel like you need any less support just because your kids are older. So here I am.
I love that. I love that. So your business is therefore more about supporting the parent in their role and equipping them rather than, as a teacher, working with the children. So you're using your 20 years of expertise and qualifications to actually go, I know where your kids are at. I know what they should be learning. I know what their behaviors are doing generally. And so I'm therefore equipping and supporting the parent at a time that they're losing their networks and their, I suppose a lot of confidence as to what to do at this stage.
Yeah, and then it gets complicated and kids get complicated because parenting's a trial and error thing. What works for the first kid is not going to work for your second or third sometimes, or fourth for that matter, because I'm a single mom of 4 kids. And every single one of them is different. And it's trial and error. And the more support you can have, plus advice and tips, because you got to try things out.
Yeah.
You got to try it out. It may work for that kid, and then you shift and you try again. And then right when you think you got things figured out because they're starting to get easy, then adolescence kicks in, and now the change change happens again. And you just need people and other parents more than ever during that time, because you're ready to pull out your hair for a lot of people, and they don't have the experience that most teachers do. And I have a very unique teaching experience that I got to teach so many different grade levels every single day versus most school teachers. They specialize in either elementary or middle school or high school. And then even within that, third grade. They're third grade teachers. They're only kindergarten teacher. And that's not me. I actually had this whole experience of different ages and got to see the progression of how kids learn and act at different ages. And I thought when it was time to shift gears and move away from teaching, then that's where I thought this is where my talent is. And I can really take this knowledge and help parents because they need it. They don't have what I have. So let me spread the gift.
Mm. Oh, I love that phrase, spreading your gift. That's exactly what you do, right? So you give away a lot of free information. So let's look at that. What do you give away and why do you do it for free? What's driving you in that way?
Sure. Well, I give it away because I want you to have it. And so much of what parenting is, again, is trial and error. So I can't promise you that something's going to work for your kid because it could shift. Like you can always you need like 3 or 4 different tools in your tool belt. So to figure out what's going on and to see what really is going to be a good fit. But um, I do have paid programs too, and those paid programs are just a lot more intense, and they focus highly on like a particular thing that maybe that you need help with. And those are much longer and much more intense programs versus my free content, which is just like tips and help of everyday stuff, good reminders of everyday stuff of things to do. For example, right now we're all on screens a ton, just
Yeah.
a ton, everybody, I mean, parents included. And even with online school happening, I feel like parents should go out and consider buying blue light glasses for their kids. And so like I could do quick impactful tips like go and buy blue light glasses for your tips for your kids. They're less than $20, purchased on Amazon. They'll save your kids' eyes. And what happens is screens emit so much blue light, which blocks melatonin, which also affects their sleep patterns. So less than $20 is actually a very small price to pay to help your child sleep better at night and take care of their eyes. And so like little things like that, I feel like are valuable tidbits that I don't need to charge for. Those are free. Like, yeah. And it's good reminders.
Yeah. What do most parents come to you for? What are their biggest concerns? Because we're all
Oh,
different, right?
yeah.
This is the thing, as you referred to before, and I've had 5 kids and I cannot believe it's been the surprise of parenting, which it really shouldn't be, that how different they are in the same environment, the same love and adoration and all the hours and effort you put into them. They're all so different. And of course they should be. They're all individual human beings. And then you then suddenly look at other families and kids, and lots of mums often sort of look and go, well, why is their kid so well behaved? Why is their kid like that? But we're all just different. So how do we, what do people mainly come to you for?
Sure. So this is a great question. And I'm going to give you audience some free tips right now because this is going to help everybody. It doesn't matter what age your kid is. Well, first of all, they come to me mainly for either behavior management issues or how to connect with their child.
Mm.
And usually they're very much intertwined. If you're not really connect with your child, you're going to have behavior management issues.
Yeah.
So I do a paid program for behavior management so that it helps kids with anger management or high anxiety. And those are like really kind of more extreme cases where you have a good kid, but they just have so much emotions that they don't know how to control it inside. This is very, very common in the gifted population of children who are just highly sensitive. So I spent a lot of time with gifted kids through my education service. And so I created a whole program to help parents with that specifically, because it is much more than I just need tips issue.
Yeah.
You need to actually work with your child for how to teach them how to control these big emotions. And I work with parents too, with not only how to teach a child to control those emotions, but how they can really support their children in much more authentic and deeper ways in their household.
Mm.
But connection is a common question, especially as your child becomes an adolescent, because they are developmentally appropriately going to separate from you. They're trying to figure out their own thing. They're trying to put on different hats to see what fits good. And I preach that there are 3 things that every child needs. Just 3. And if you as a parent can focus on these 3 things, then the connection piece can sometimes more easily fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those 3 things, they are security, acceptance, and power. And let me tell you about those.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is security. Kids need security. They want to know that you will love them through thick and thin, that you're going to love them even if they disagree with you, that you're going to love them if they're not that perfect straight A student. And I want you to notice that this goes beyond the physical of security. They need to feel physically secure too. Like they're not going to get hit and whatever, like hurt physically. But beyond that, it's also about the security of emotion, that they're secure with you, that they can express themselves and be okay, that they're in a safe spot. Because if not, they're going to go into this flight or fight mode. Because when people do not feel secure, then you're scared, and scared turns into either fight and stand up for yourself. And I'm going to be angry. This is where a lot of anger management issues come into play. I'm going to be angry and I'm going to try to fight you. And because they're trying to gain control of something. So they're just angry, or they're going to do the flight portion of it. And now you got your hiders, I'm going to go and I'm not going to connect with you. I'm going to go hide in the corner. I'm going to spend a lot of time in my room. I don't want to talk about it kind of kids. And so security is super important. The next one is acceptance. And this is very similar to security, but your child wants to know that you as their parent will accept them no matter the person that they want to be, that you'll be okay with it, that you're going to love them no matter who they choose to be. So when we're talking about those adolescents trying on different hats, they want to know that it doesn't matter what hat they try on, that you're going to be okay with it. They want to know that even if they can't get the perfect grades and be that image of who you want them to be, you're going to be okay with it. They need to feel accepted, and you can't control acceptance outside of your home, but you can control acceptance in your home. So it's super important. This is especially important to kids, I feel like, who are teetering or exploring the LGBTQ community and really want to connect with that. I feel like that's huge. They really need that acceptance from their parents. Otherwise, they'll pull away. It just goes beyond their choices. They want you to look beyond their choices and see them for who they are instead. And even the best kids in the world will challenge these things, okay? So, and they do it subconsciously all the time. And you're just like, whoa, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And they don't even really know themselves. It's that they're trying to test these boundaries a little bit with you, that it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what their choice is. Doesn't matter. They feel secure. They feel accepted. And the last one is power. And this one's probably the most misinterpreted one, because as your kids get older, more and more, even toddlers actually, they need to know that they matter. They need to know that they have an influence on their world and that they have a place in their world also. They want to know that they have like a sense of purpose, really is where it comes from. So if they do something, there's a consequence to it.
Mm.
And again, this is where kids test stuff all the time and we don't really realize it and they don't even know why they're doing it, but they're testing if there's a consequence to it.
Yeah.
Because if you do something and nothing happens, then those kids kind of feel like, well, what's the point?
Mm.
And if it doesn't matter what I do and it doesn't matter what I say and no one cares, then why am I here?
Mm.
And here's where you get a lot of teenagers that start to think, and I'm going to say think because teenagers matter. So they think that they don't matter, that their existence does not have purpose, and they become depressed.
Mm.
And this is where we get a lot of our suicidal teens too, because they want to know that somebody would miss them if they were gone.
Mm.
They want to have sense of purpose. And that's true for anybody. All people in the world, they want these three things. They want to feel secure. They don't want to be scared. They want to be accepted. And they want some sense of power. And so toddlers, if you have a toddler, they test this all the time, right? Their sense of power. Yeah. And our teenagers test this all the time, their sense of power. It happens over and over again. So there you go. I mean, it's those three really poignant pillars, I feel like, of a parenthood. If you could figure those things out, then a lot of times the connection part will find its way. But if one of the pillars is missing in your home, then the connection needs to start right there.
Yeah. Wow, that is such valuable information. I'm sure those listening are just like, wow, I know it sounds really simple, three key words, but when you start unpacking that, and I'm unpacking that just at the moment, and I've even got a granddaughter who's just turned 3, for example, and even the little tantrums, or when you hit the wall on different things, that's it. They're either looking to go, well, what happens if I do that? Is there a consequence? And even though they don't like the consequence, they're still seeing that there is a consequence of behavior. And so even the tantrums are there for a reason, because they're still working it out. And if you play that out, and I imagine, my children, when they're at those different ages, that's right. The fact that they don't like it or they protest, is actually, also showing them safety and security, because you love them so much. Now, they don't feel that at the time, but deep down it's a message that goes, oh, well, at least someone cares, and so it's interesting. I think one of the challenges is that issue of wanting them to know that they've got unconditional love, that you love them anyway, but then not presenting judgment, because you also worry about them and you want them to have that security, or you want to have things for them because you're you've got the parent, you're the parent heart, right? I'll call myself like the mummy bear, and I go, but I've thought of these things for you, and I've dreamt them, and I love them, and I don't want them to live my life, I don't want me to be doing that for them, but I do have hopes and dreams for them. And how do you manage that situation where your desires don't imply that you're not happy for them? Do you know what I mean? I think that's a constant conflict.
Expectation is the death of a connection. It really is. And we have it as parents, and everybody does. Every single one of us do. We all have these expectations of what we think our kid's going to be and how we want them to. We have a vision, right? And it's all based out of love and how much we love our kids, which is why it's so hard to lose the expectation, because it's coming from such a good place inside of us and a lot of times I feel like parents have such a hard time letting that go, because they're like, but I don't mean madly about it. Like, I'm not trying to be mean with this love that's coming from deep inside, but they want to control too much because they, quote unquote, know better. They want to save their children from mistakes and pain and experiencing that, because they don't want to see their kids go through pain, and you don't want to see your kids make mistakes. So instead they hover, or it's called a lawnmower parent, where they mow down all the obstacles in front of their child so that their child has an easier path in life. And all of that is actually doing such a disservice
Mm,
to our kids, because it is through adversity that we become resilient.
mm,
And it is also through adversity that we learn and we grow and we
mm,
discover all these things in adolescence of who we want to be and our values and how we want to focus our lives moving forward. And so it's coming from that place of love. And I think that it's one of the harder things that I deal with parents, and it takes like several sessions for, it feels like for a lot of parents to get the light bulb. Like they have to hear it several times that you need to let go of the expectation, because there's so many of them and we don't even realize we're putting on expectations on our kids without even realizing it at all. We don't even realize it at all.
Oh, at all. I totally relate to that. I remember a few years ago, one of my children has Asperger's, and we were, that's fine. We know and we love him and live with that. But it wasn't until one day we went to the psychologist, and he looked at us and said, "You realize, your child can't be the person that you're wanting him to be. He just doesn't have the capacity, or he doesn't have that mindset. It's not going to happen." And it was like this revelation, even though we sort of felt that we knew everything about Asperger's, right? And we would do anything for him. But that when we actually came back, and had a cry, had a, oh my gosh, you're right. It's almost like this grief sort of suddenly came in, but then our relationship has been so much better ever since, because we then
Absolutely, right?
go, well,
Because you're accepting him
we
for
accept
who he is. Yes.
really weird that I would have said before then, of course we accept him for who he is. We're like, let them all be independent, particularly because I had twins, really encourage the independence and uniqueness. But it was really interesting that, we were surprised by the impact that it had and how slow we were to learn it. That we actually weren't. We still had these preconceived ideas of what his capacity was, or, it doesn't mean that you're always limited by that capacity, but we certainly needed to remove our expectations. And he's flourished since then. It's really amazing.
Yes, because one of the needs was finally met. And now he can grow in that and sit in himself and feel good. And when kids can do that, that's when they flourish. And I love that you can talk to your audience candidly about it that way, because it could be with Asperger's. It could be that your child's dyslexic. It could be that your child decides to be I don't know, whatever, not go to college. That's a big one that I see with parents all the time, where they decide, I don't want to go to college.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that straight A student. I hear that quite a bit. Or again, somehow identifying with that LGBTQ community too, because it's not typically what parents are expecting their child to go into. And I just want to hear anybody who's listening to this right now, and if you're wondering if you had these expectations on your own child, that it's so natural to go home and cry over this, because you have to mourn the expectation and when you get rid of it, anything, you're mourning a loss of some sort. It's that dream you had in your brain as a parent of what you thought your kid was going to be. And you have to, in order to release that dream, you have to mourn it. You have to, let it out, that it's sad, that it's not gonna, but honestly, it's the best thing, because in the end, I say this quote all the time, but you may have given a life, but it is not your life to live. So you have to tear away that expectation. And in order to do that, go home and cry about it, whatever you need to do, but to get rid of it, because it's not serving you, I promise.
Yeah.
You'll just headbutt with that kid that does not have the same expectation. So, if your kid doesn't want to go to college and that was what you expected of your child their whole life, you're going to have to let it go.
You do have to let it go. And one of ours did that. He got to the end of school, and we're a fairly academic family, and said, I just don't look at uni, and nothing interests me. And then he went off and did a trade, and now he's 27, and he then suddenly gone and said, I want to study, and I want to now do something, and suddenly it's switched on. And it's actually really exciting, and I'm glad that he's done that. Like some of him, and even those revelations, maybe I left it longer. Maybe I should have done this 3 years ago or 5 years ago, but he wasn't ready at the time. And that's it. As a parent, that's his journey, and now he's doing it with great enthusiasm, because he's found, we all find ourselves at different times. Not everybody suddenly gets to, that final year and goes, great, I know exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know with my kids, they've changed, them might be changing degrees or changing, areas that they're interested in. Look at you and I, we've kind of done qualifications and moved on and done other things and following your passion. And that's part of it. I think one of those big things for me is that, wanting the best for them. When you bring home those beautiful babies and you just kind of go, oh, I've got all the hopes and dreams, and I hope you don't have the challenges that I've had, and I want to just protect you from everything that could harm you, and I want to give you the best, opportunities in life, which is, of course, what every mama out there would be like, yeah, that's me. And then at the reverse, the opposite of that is, but you have to, how do we all learn? We learn through our trials and tribulations and figuring things out, because it helps us problem solve, and it also teaches us about ourselves as unique human beings. And so it's such a challenge, isn't it? And I think, that to be able to equip people to be able to, play out those challenges, which do require a lot of, tears and frustration and grief and a lot of the ongoing challenges of parenting, particularly through those teen years, particularly the diversity of teenagers. Oh my gosh. Amazing. I just love what you're doing and giving back to people. So
well, one of the things that you said that was spot on is that your kid's going to do it in their own time.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as parents, we want to rush it. We want to do it on our time, not their time. So back to that college situation, like good for him that he went back on his time.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody would have pushed him and made him do it when he wasn't ready, there was no way that he was going to be successful, really. I mean, not without being extremely unhappy, likely. So it's allowing your child to be who they are in their own time. And we're just there to support them. We're here to catch them when they fall and talk and listen and give tips if they want to hear it, and guide them if we can. But we're just there to support, really, because it's their life to live. It really is.
So you're a mum of 4 and you're doing it on your own. What are your biggest challenges then, being the expert parent while you're a parent of young ones? Do people look at your life and lead by example and all of that? How does that impact you?
I am the normal mom. My kids are normal. They're not exceptional, but that makes us great in how I can relate to other parents. My kids, I have kids with anger management issues, which is why I created that course. I have kids with high anxiety and struggles with, figuring out who they are and wanting acceptance. I have that. That's how I came to all these things. And so it's made me who I am as a mom, to have 4 really, really, really different kids. And I've had such a privilege raising them and having so much fun with them. They're all very unique, and keeping those connections with them. My oldest one has dyslexia. We've been struggling with that. He has sensory processing disorder, which is a struggle thing we didn't know for years. Got to go through that. I've been a stay-at-home mom. I've been a full-time working mom. I've been everything. I've been a part-time work, and now I'm an entrepreneur, or I guess they call them mamapreneurs, whatever. So my journey over the years has been rich in a lot of different diversity with my children, and we're in it together along the way. So, but that does present the challenges, because right when I think things are going well too, the game changes and the next one gets older, and the next issue arises. So
particularly when you have multiple children, they're going through their different stages, and then that impacts the others. And so you can see, I love it, that journey of parenting, when you go, oh wow, you just reach these little plateaus for a few weeks and everything's great, and you're like, oh good, and relax, and then suddenly someone will go through a different phase, and then that then throws out the others, because we all have to then respond, and so that's the craziness that is real family life, right? And that's why I love having you on the program, and I love interviewing women like me who are happy to actually go, yeah, that's right, life is uncertain. Life is, we want to have a predictable outcome. We want to bring home that baby and say, well, this is what the life that I'm going to give you, and this is, you have the opportunity to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, and I hope you don't have any struggles. But the reality of life is, that's right, everyone will have their own journey, and everyone should have their own journey, and our job is exactly that, to give them that safety and security and acceptance and love and support framework that will then help them be a happy, healthy adult, and then keep us connected in the best way possible, because then they then have those opportunities to thrive, right?
Yes, exactly.
I think the more people hear that message and the tips that you've given today, I think actually helps people, because it's just crazy to think that everyone is like they are when you see them at a, all glammed up at a barbecue, and like your kids are all good and behave yourself, otherwise you won't get an ice cream on the way home, and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
That's right, that kid could have had a feral tantrum before they left, or they could be slamming their door or doing whatever, and it's like, yeah, everybody, there's real life behind everybody, and there is, and there should be, because it's normal. That's right, it's normal.
Yeah. Mistake that parents make is they compare themselves to social media, and those are all just the good stuff. And I'm telling you, I'm an impactful parent, and it's not all good.
Exactly.
And then that's what it is. And it's okay. I'll tell you about it. I'm not afraid to admit it, because I don't want to be fake about it. And even when you see my social media posts too, it may look like it's beautiful and things like that, but no, there's learning that came from my own adversity. And that's what I've just tried to pass it forward,
Yeah.
because it was not always easy, and it's still not easy.
Mm.
I don't know. Next year I'll be talking about what it's like to have minus one of them, because I have my 18-year-old a senior in high school. So I don't know what I'm going to do when he's out of my house. It's going to be a lot of crying.
It's really weird. I know that when mine started, one got married fairly young, and the other one, a second one, got married last year. And so I've got three, and then some come and go. And that's right, it's this whole new phase of, you're really excited for them, and they're, learning how to be adults and live their own lives. But then that's right, it feels so weird. It's weird for me, because I had 5 children. And so I was used to cooking for 7, like every day, and then suddenly we can have nights now of just hubby and I, or one of my 21-year-old there, and like, I went through stages of it, just cook too much all the time, or you just kind of sit each other and go, oh, there's not many at the table. It's just like, it's all in a just, right? And then suddenly, they'll all suddenly turn up and go, oh, I'm not used to cooking for so many anymore. Or it'll be really noisy. And so it's just funny. It's funny, but it's exciting. I think every phase is exciting. If you take it rather than the challenge of, everything's going to be hard, it is hard because it's a challenge. But if the challenge is interesting, if you change it, I'm all into curiosity. I think it's if you have a curious nature of go, well, what's next? And then go with the ride of that. That's right. What's next when my child leaves home? Or what's next when my child then goes into high school? What's next when they suddenly sort of start distancing themselves from me? So yes, you want to explore it, but you can do that in a positive way. It's like, oh wow, I've got to learn about this. I've got to equip myself to this new level and new stage, rather than, oh no, this is going to be hard, and this is going to be, because then it makes us withdraw, right? So it's kind of like the leaning in as opposed to pulling back. You do need to pull back to allow some space, but you can still lean in while doing so to, how's this all working, and how can I equip myself and our family for the best time through this journey.
Well said. That's perfect.
Oh, thank you. Oh wow, I get a gold star from the impactful. Oh, dear. Well, I can give you the tips on when they move out. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's all cool. I think they're all really great stages. And I think it's so wonderful that you focus on those teen years, because that's the stage that, people are privately challenged by. They're privately going, oh my gosh, I'm out of my depth here and I don't know. And I only know my kids and I look at other kids and I don't really know. And it is a time of being disconnected, as you said at the beginning. I remember, I was like the class mum for 6 years and knew every parent in infants and primary, and then suddenly high school. My kids went to different high schools actually, largely, and then that's right, they just went off on the bus. Like I didn't even do pick up, drop off or anything, and I was working full time, and suddenly you're like, wow, bits of that are good, because as a parent you're then finding more about yourself, or you're finding people in your life who are more like you and the hobbies you have and the interests you have, rather than all the ones you met at mum's group. But in another way, those people that you meet through other networks may not identify with your situation with your family. And then that's right, it's like, oh, I wonder what all those other mums at this stage are doing. And it can be a really challenging time. So I can see where you feel a real void, a real need for people. So anyone listening that this particular issue resonates with you, and I'm sure there's going to be many, reach out to Kristina. How do they find you, Kristina? What's your website?
Sure. So I'm at theimpactfulparent.com. You do need the but theimpactfulparent.com. And today for your listeners too, if they want to go to theimpactfulparent.com/what every child needs, since I talked about that, it's a free PDF that gives you questions for how to start a conversation with your child to see if there's any needs that they feel are not being met. So it just helps you start that going. If you have a younger child, you can go through the PDF still on your own to see if you think that you have fulfilled all those 3 areas by answering the questions that I give. But it's much better if you can do it actually with your school age child, because you might be surprised. You think that you're doing something, you're doing the right job, you're doing everything good, and really there's a hole there, and you'll see it with the questions that you'll be asking your kids, and then and then you feel the hole, which is that's the great part.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I love your smile as you said that, because you can see it's your pure joy. And so you're definitely in the right area. So that's right. So go to that web link, everybody, and pick up your free resources. Spend some time connecting with your kids and asking them those questions, not in a forced way, in a natural way, in a comfortable way, just in the car as you're driving them somewhere or whatever. Just, I'm sure you can just break them up and make it not like an interrogation. Tread lightly and just find your way in your own way, and give yourselves a bit of permission just to be, let them be and self be. And I think that's part of, just becoming comfortable with it all, that, we're all at new stages too. And our kids don't know that until they become adults, that, my parents were unsure half the time.
With your school age child, driving in the car with them is actually some of the best times to connect, because you're not sitting them down. And there's something special about connecting with your kid when you're sitting side by side and they don't have to look at you.
So
or like a walk. If you can get your kid to go for a walk, that's even better. But
boys, so much more. They were more relaxed when you're in the car and they're side by side and you're just having this chat. So
it doesn't feel like an interrogation that way.
I notice my girls, and that's very gender stereotypical, but for mine, they're a bit more like you're at the cafe and you're leaning in and you're having this girl time, and they're more comfortable with that. Whereas my boys, I found that, that's right. As you're driving or you're kind of just walking or doing something, they're a lot more sort of light chat. But you can still get deep in those times.
Absolutely. It's just that is intimidating when you're not facing the person. It doesn't feel like an interrogation because you're just driving in the car together, and it's a natural situation to sit side by side in the car. Yeah. If you can go for a walk, that's even better. But I offer 30-day challenges. I have I think 4 different ones that you can go on my website underneath the connection tab. And so I say, connect with your child 1 question at a time, where I send you 1 question every day so that you can ask your kid in the car that 1 question. And it just prompts conversation, because got to get out of this boring, how's your day? Do you have any homework? I mean, all that's boring. Your kids don't want to hear that. And then you wonder why they don't want to talk to you
Been there
because
for 6 hours. I don't want to talk about what I did today, right? I just went to
Mhm.
class. I did that. I actually just want to go out and play with a ball or, you know, go and see a friend or have some downtime. That's right. Exactly. And also a lot of those questions are performance based, aren't they?
They
So
are.
did you do it? Did you do your homework? It's kind of like, well, you're good if you've done your homework, you're bad if you haven't. So there's no real alternate answer there, is there? They've all got to go, yeah, I did.
Yeah. And that's we make the mistake of asking a yes or no question instead of
What did
starting a
you enjoy about
conversation.
today? Yeah, that's
But
right.
it's hard to think of new things on your own as a parent. And so I just take the guesswork out for you and I give you the question every day so that you can, you just all you have to do is read it and then ask your kid about it later and start the conversation. It's pretty powerful and it's so simple and free.
I love that. So let's finish today. What does success look or feel like to you? What do you think a successful woman is?
I would say a successful woman is someone who loves who she is and lives her authentic self.
Mm, beautifully said. Comfortable in your own skin. Yeah.
Yeah. When you live authentically, you tend to be successful in whatever you do.
Mm,
It doesn't matter what it is.
mm.
If it's your true self, what comes from deep inside, it makes you happy and you tend to be really good at it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thanks for coming on my program today. I've so enjoyed our conversation. I think you are just absolutely awesome at what you do. And I'm so thrilled that, you've taken your whole, career learnings and are now able to give that back in your business and also giving out heaps of free tips and tricks. I think you're just such a beautiful human. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I wish you all the best in your future success.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.